And we're live. And I want to say that it's a bad hair day. Look, it's it's unruly, it's out of control. I was going to put it back, but there's not enough of it to put back. And so I was complaining to Holly before the show that my hair is out of control today and I can't put it back because it's a tenth of an inch long. And she was giving me some hair care advice about, growing it long enough but that won't be done by today.
Cactus is having a good hair day.
It's like the medicine that Trump wants us to take for the economy, crash it now. And, 10 years from now, there'll be a revolution and we'll be flourishing and it'll be wonderful. And that's how my hair feels today. It is Wednesday, April 9th, the year of our Lord, 2025. Holly is having a fabulous hair day.
And the cactus too.
The cactus is having a great hair day. We call them prickles days. My voice, as you can tell,
Yeah, what's up with
is
that?
also having a bad hair day. The little hair follicles in my lungs are, in my voice box are making noise. It is 8:01 a.m. and we have a lot of things on the agenda today. So we're gonna actually, other than this complaining about the state of my hair, we're gonna skip the monologue. Um, yeah, Holly's looking quizzical, but on a bad hair day, which is also a wolf shirt day, you know, you need to break things up. So we're gonna go straight to the cactus.
You're watching Dog Shirt TV, an effing revolution in morning television.
You are watching Dog Shirt TV, and it is an effing revolution in morning television. One of the revolutionary features of the show is that sometimes when Holly comes on just before the show and says she's having a bad hair day, I do a very brief monologue about how I'm having a bad hair day, even though my hair is always the same. And I do want to point out that for those of you who have bad hair days, if you take a buzzer and go zzz once a week, you will never have a bad hair day again. And then you can joke about it when your friends are having bad hair days. And another one of the revolutionary features of the show, because I want to tell you there are many, is that Holly and I have in common that neither of us have any shame about self humiliation. And so I am the middle aged male who will put makeup on my face and call my audience girlies. Um, and Holly is the person who, when she's having a bad hair day, will do whatever she's doing right now while I'm talking about it. And that's the kind of show you're watching, people.
Yeah, I'm recreating the hair I had in the eighth grade. And
It,
that's,
I have to say, it's really impressive looking now.
yeah, well, it hasn't been washed in a few days because I don't wash my hair. I use dry shampoo a lot of days because I have very fun. Anyway, it's a whole long my. But in the 80s, and y'all who were alive in the 80s back me up, um,
This was what you wanted.
the higher the hair, the nearer to God. And what I would do is, and I have very fine hair, so it took some doing. But what
Well,
you would do is you had your Aquanet or some aerosol like lacquer hairspray. You would spray your hair, and then when it was still like a little bit damp with the hairspray, you would curl the hair with a curling iron, and like steam would come off your hair. You could like feel it damaging the hair. And then while it was still curled, you would spray it again, and then you would let that dry, and then you would rat it. Well, see, what I'm doing right now is ratting it or teasing the hair. And then when you were done with that, and it was your hair was like basically the nest of a some sort of raptor-sized bird, then you would spray it all over yet again, and it would stay like that all day.
Well, I just want to say that I got an incredible screenshot of you while you were doing this, and I think it should be your profile picture.
Okay.
Um, and I'm um gonna send you a collection of these, and maybe actually the collection of these pictures will be the opening good evening gallery on Dog Shirt Daily today.
Then you cannot humiliate a person who is hell bent on humiliating
No, but
themselves.
that's kind of the point. Somehow we got into a world where people take issues not seriously enough, and they take themselves too seriously.
This is so true.
And I want to reverse that. I want to say, let's take issues with reverent seriousness and treat ourselves as uh, objects of amusement and derision. And I
Hmm.
think we just need a culture change in that regard.
Well, I feel like we're leading this culture
We
change. I
are.
think that's the revolution of this show.
That may be the core revolution.
Yeah.
Issues are serious. We are matters of
I
amusement.
tell you what, you won't see Mika with hair like this.
That's
I'm
right.
going to.
Which brings me to the conclusion of today's monologue. And one of the revolutionary features, and there are many, is that you will never see Mika Brzezinski dressed like Holly is now, or with hair as wildly unkempt in kind of an awesome Muppet animal sort of way, as Holly is now. And if you appreciate that about Mika Brzezinski, um,
It's not your show.
there is MSNBC,
That's right.
and right now on MSNBC, Mika um, is the word primped, and
Yeah.
Joe is all the makeup addict people did his face just perfectly,
Hmm.
and they never have an because they're mostly not improvising, or at least for the introductions. Like the whole first part of the show is scripted on a teleprompter,
Hmm.
and you're never gonna have them go like this. But here
Or wear a dog shirt,
on dog, or wear a
like
dog shirt. Although
like a pajamas.
I have worn a dog shirt on MSNBC,
Oh, really?
but it
Wow.
was on Joyanne Reed's show, and she loved it. So I think we're breaking that barrier too.
Well, they've never asked me on MSNBC and probably won't, but I don't know
Oh, they
what.
will right after your South Sudan piece runs. That
Yeah, I have to get that. I have to get that to you today. I've got another busy day today. Well, we'll get it to you soon, Ben,
no,
promise.
no, but that wasn't the point. The point was the joke there was that they're obsessed with South
Right, of
Sudan
course.
news, and as soon as your South Sudan piece runs, they're going to stop everything else they're doing to
I
do that.
immediately went to the guilt place with it.
Yeah, that was not what and
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Yeah,
okay,
no,
so wait.
I don't know what they would think if I showed up at MSNBC like this.
So here's the question. While we're doing self-humiliation, should I record the next Get Ready With Me video live on Dog Shirt TV?
I mean, why not? I mean, as long as it's something that K-pops could then work with.
Oh yeah, I can. The video format is quite good actually. It's one of the
Mm.
reasons we use Riverside, because very high quality, and I can send her a very high quality cut. And I'm filming right now with my very cool camera, so I can record, um, uh, in any
I
way
think
that.
I think you need a ring light or something to illuminate your face a bit more.
Yeah, I have one.
Okay,
I
cool.
just don't use it on dog shirt
Yeah,
TV because,
right.
you know, because guys, authenticity, this is the real me.
Yeah.
Just rolled out of bed, drank a cup of coffee, took off yesterday's dog shirt, threw on today's dog shirt. Uh, I am wearing pants, but, not always on dog shirt TV. Sometimes just the pair of shorts that I slept in. I'm not
Well, you're
promising.
wearing something down on your bottom half.
Always,
Okay.
always. I'm never naked.
Appreciate it.
But I am like, but sometimes it'll just be, the shorts that I slept in, or sometimes it'll be, in this case, it's, pajamas. I'm not
Approved.
promising. There's nothing other than the real us here. And one
Yeah.
of the cool things, Holly will verify this. If you meet Holly in person, she's just like this. And if you meet me in person, I'm just like this. And if you meet, Eve Gumon, she is as scattered and all over the place as she is on the show. Um, and if you meet Minna Olander, she really does answer all questions in full paragraphs like she does on the show. This is just really us. And, that includes my hair on a bad hair day. We are not allowed to have fun anymore, folks, but we are allowed to uh, have a second day in a row of just, kind of what the fuck is going on conversation because, the show is kind of a mix of guest days where we talk about issues, and some of those issues are temporally specific, like, uh, having Steve Vladek here to talk about the Supreme Court, or uh, some of the issues are really old, like what is a Greek chorus, right? But then there are just the days that you want to decompress about everything that's happening. And we need a healthy amount of that because for most of us, this is the chance that we get to do that. And, you know, so Holly, what's on your mind today?
Well, I'm just wondering if any of us are going to have any money in like a year, or if I'm just wondering. Yeah, I'm just wondering where this is all going. I'm wondering, like, surely somebody has to benefit, like I don't know. I guess investors, I keep thinking, well, investors have to do something with their money, but I guess they don't. They could just hoard it. And I'm thinking we should just hoard all our money. So I don't know. I'm thinking of digging a hole somewhere safe and like stacking bars of gold underground or something.
The problem is that gold prices can fall too.
I know. That's what I'm here's the thing that I'm realizing, both in terms
What you
of
should what you should buy is rare earth minerals
mm,
and store them underground.
okay, well, I'm just gonna buy Ukraine and the Congo, and I'm gonna store them underground, and see how that goes. But here's what I'm realizing, Ben, and I've always kind of known this, certainly about money. Money is what is money? Like I'm getting all existential with things. Like money is kind of an illusion, is it not? Like money is basically trust. Did you read the novel Trust? Have I asked you this before?
No, you've never asked and I've never read it.
It's a good book. I think it won the Pulitzer Prize, if I'm not mistaken. But it's kind of along this theme, like everything, society itself, the law, institutions, everything is just human trust. And like when that can collapse. I mean, our whole lives are just like so fragile, and I feel like it's all coming apart. And that feels great, you know?
Yeah, so um, I think that first of all, there are good businesses in bad times, and I think you should. think about going into the payday lending business, for example.
Oh,
It, a lot of people are going to need short-term loans, and you can, you know, you can help a lot of people out and exploit them along the way. Um,
mm.
you know, and you'll need some muscle for the project because you're not going to go through all the, I don't know, licensing and stuff to do it. But I think, you could be a loan shark.
Oh, okay. Well, that's an idea. Um, I don't know. What is your what is are you also going to be a loan shark or do you have other plans?
No, 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 no. I have other plans. I plan
But you're
to.
keeping those to yourself though,
No,
right?
no, no. I'm happy to be. So first of all, I am going to, uh, you know, um, be the town jester. That's my I've got some lasers, I've got lights. I'm
You can do
kind of,
that, but is it lucrative?
well, people throw you scraps of food and stuff, and I think I can do it better than a lot of people. I mean, look, I'm not going to be in, John Mulaney's league or John Stewart's league, but I think I can get by as a kind of town jester.
We should do improv. We That could be good. Maybe this is what this is
Yeah, I
actually.
would.
Never mind. We do it every day.
All right, you want to do some improv?
Yeah, I guess. I've never done improv.
Neither have I. So let's do what's the difference between
I don't
um
think I don't think there's a difference. I
all
think
right,
this
so let's do it. Let's John Hawkinson says in the chat that you need a prompt.
Okay, what is the prompt?
I don't know. John Hawkinson, you want to give us a prompt?
I'm kind
I
of
don't think he does. All right, here's the prompt,
I
Holly.
think I need to plan a little bit for the improv.
Here's the plan. We have no prompt.
Oh, okay.
Go.
Um, well, let's see. Maybe I think I'm going to go to the store and buy a prompt. I think that's what is needed at
Wait,
this
John
time.
Hawkinson just gave us a prompt. A
Okay.
divorced couple
Hold
sitting outside a restaurant
on.
talking about their daughter's wedding.
Okay. All right. Well, obviously you can't sit with me or anywhere near me, or actually even in the same church.
I,
Or a synagogue. Is it
Hey,
are we
if
Jewish or
you haven't
Christian?
noticed, our daughter is Jewish, and
Okay,
she
well,
is a convert to the Baha'i faith.
that
And
was
so
always the whole problem.
we are not getting married. She is not getting married in a church. I'm sorry. I know you grew up in churches or in your blood or anything, but they're not in her blood.
Well, forgive me for caring if people go to hell, Ben. That was always your problem is you were insistent on going to hell.
Well, yeah. Look, if heaven is full of people like you, sign me up for hell.
Well, I don't even know what to say about that, except that
You could say nothing. That's one of the
why
problems we've
why
had
start
over the
that?
years is how insistent you are on always getting the last word.
How can I get the last word when you are a last word, like a human last word?
All right, Laura Donna
All
has
right.
shown up to break up the fight.
Okay,
She's our daughter. She's our
everybody.
daughter.
Yeah, she's getting married
I
and
totally, I can't even begin to compete. So
Well,
and yet
I'm
you
just
showed
gonna
up
call
in
this.
the middle of it,
your hair is
mercifully
your hair isn't
relieving us
fine
of
enough.
the continuance
Oh,
of
it's
that.
fine. This part is a tribute to Holly.
You look like alfalfa.
So you say that to all the girls. I can't believe you mentioned the Baha'i faith because in amongst being a Reformed Jew and a recovering evangelical Christian and whatnot, practitioner of random
Gosh.
Buddhist practice. I studied the Baha'i faith for about 4 years with some women I met at an Asian grocery store because they were looking for something and I was looking for gluten-free soy sauce. And I told them where their thing was, and they told them where my thing was, and the cashier was looking pretty disgusted with the whole thing. And I don't know, somehow it came up that I was studying Chinese. And so my friend Farishta said, I'll teach you Chinese. And I said, okay. And she did. But also, I started studying the Baha'i faith, which is like the coolest faith. And her sister made this bookmark. And I just want to put in a plug for the Baha'i faith. I never converted, I just studied it like weekly.
Donna, if you have a religion that you have low self-esteem about and you need some converts, I say try Donna. I mean, it could work.
Well, I just want to say, on behalf of the Baha'i faith, of which I'm not a member,
Yeah.
if you are ever in Israel, um, in Haifa,
Right.
Haifa is built on this, what normal people call a hill, and the Israelis call a mountain. Um, and if you climb to the very top of it, at the top is the Baha'i Temple, which is the center of the world Baha'i faith. It
Wow, in
moved there from Iran at some point, I think pre-state,
because there's not
actually.
enough religions in Israel already.
Well, I don't know why they moved to Haifa, but it's originally Iranian, but they moved to Haifa sometime before the state was founded, and it has always been headquartered in Haifa. And there is a temple there, and um, and surrounding the temple, cascading down this hill, are the gardens. And the Baha'i Gardens are one of the most astonishingly beautiful thing you can visit in Israel. And um, people don't go to it because, except Baha'i pilgrims, because people go to Israel for ancient ruins or for Jewy reasons or Christian reasons or Muslim reasons, and some Baha'i go there for Baha'i reasons, but they don't go. People don't go there just to see beautiful gardens.
Hmm.
But I'm telling you, Haifa is like the loveliest city in Israel, but the Baha'i Gardens are a highlight of it, and you should all make a point of interrupting your arguments with your ex about where your joint daughter is how the circumstances of her wedding, to go visit the Baha'i
I think she
Gardens
should
in
get married
Haifa.
in Haifa.
She would love that, but that would satisfy neither of her parents.
Well, which is what she would want to do.
I would hope with parents like us, she would want to spite us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're
All right,
probably
so Laura, you get to do the next, give us the next prompt.
Oh, we're going to keep
well.
going.
Okay. Oh, so can I tell you what the Baha'is believe? Because
Sure.
I think it's important. Because it's so great. The oneness of mankind, universal peace upheld by a world government.
Ooh, that sounds
The
Yeah, I'm
dangerous.
not so into
well,
that one.
okay,
I like the universal
yeah,
peace part, but
yeah. The common foundation of all religions, the independent investigation of truth, the essential harmony of science and religion,
Oh, I like that.
equality of men and women,
Bam.
elimination of prejudice of all kinds, universal compulsory education, a spiritual solution to the economic problem, and a universal auxiliary language, which reminds me of studying Esperanto when I was
yeah,
coming
there's a
to.
little
That's
bit of
But
Esperanto-y stuff in that.
they don't talk a lot about the world government. I
One
think
world
that's
government.
just to sort of resolve issues of
Is that the UN?
military issues. They
Maybe it's
actually don't have clergy, so it's
yeah,
not a hierarchical.
yeah.
Anyway,
Maybe
that's
something
enough for me
Washington.
today. I just wanted to say I thought it was very cool to hear
I
that.
once tried to convert a Baha'i girl to evangelicalism, and she was trying to convert me. It's so fun when like two like super religious people are trying to convert each other. It's really a fun dance. Maybe that should be our next improv.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that one. Are you going to be evangelical? You'll
I'll
be,
be evangelical girl.
and what should I be?
You could just be you could be militant Jew. I don't know.
No, but no, Jews don't try to
You need to be
convert
a
people.
Mormon. Yeah, you need to be a
I
Mormon.
don't know enough of
Okay, well,
Mormonism.
what do you
How
know?
about I'll just be a
Militant
resist.
atheist.
I'll be a resistant uh, uh, non-convert.
Hey, Ben, because I care so much about you, I need to tell you about Jesus.
All right,
Jesus,
go ahead. Tell me.
yeah. Well, Jesus, you can live forever, Ben. You can go to heaven when you die. Otherwise, you're going to hell, and it is not fun.
How
And
do
so,
you know that hell isn't fun?
well, I mean, it's just by definition not fun.
No,
Like
but that's just, that's just
eternal torture.
asserting that that's
Is
argument by
torture fun?
assertion.
Is torture fun?
Well, it depends what you're into. I mean, there are people who pay a lot of money to be. Sorry.
Like the robot masseuse?
I mean,
Is
look,
that hell?
people hire dominatrixes or
Well, those people are all
dominatrices.
going to hell.
Yeah, I know, but they're going to have fun, right?
I don't think you understand the pain of hell. It's like a deep spiritual pain
I
that
I,
goes,
under, I understand, but like we started this show talking about humiliation, and I feel like the ultimate humiliation, the kind that
is dark.
is hell. And if that's your kink, and look, I'm not saying it's mine, but there are people for whom humiliation is the thing, they want, people to step on their faces and take dumps on them, and they're into ultimate humiliation, and I would think hell would be pretty rockin' for that.
Well, I don't think you understand what how evil Satan is. What about whatever it is that torments you? Like hell is like, Donald Trump on loop. Like you have to watch him all the time.
Okay, so wait, I have a question for you about hell. How long does it go on?
Forever.
Okay, so
Forever.
here's my problem. So if your child is acting up and you put her in timeout, it's for a period of time, right?
Yeah.
And if you put her in timeout forever, that would seem unjust, right?
Well, but see, you've chosen that by not accepting the free gift of God's grace through
Yeah, I
Jesus
understand.
Christ.
I mean, it's a free gift, except everybody seems to want money for it. Um, but
I don't. I just care about you, Ben.
no, I understand. I respect that. But I do have this sense that we're in a world of infinite punishment for finite crime. Like
Mhm.
I did a crime, if you're right, that I did not accept Jesus, and for that that's a finite discrete thing, and for that you think I'm going to be punished infinitely and forever. And so my question to you, Holly Berkeley Fletcher, is why wouldn't a just God create infinite punishment for finite offense?
Well, now you got me there, and my entire belief system is crumbled in seconds.
There we
So,
go. Okay.
congratulations, Ben. I'm now an atheist. You win.
I we were slaves in Pharaoh in Egypt, but now we are free. The Lord brought us forth with a strong hand and an outstretched arm, and with great
Yeah.
wonders and terrors.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
All right. What else is on your mind today?
Okay, so today first of all, I went to the Tesla protest yesterday, which was fun. A lot of the same folks, very fun once again. The 96-year-old woman was not there. But today I'm going up to Capitol Hill to deliver some presents to some senators. I'm going to the Hart Building. And first up is I'm going to Cory Booker's office to deliver him this gift, thanking
Very
him for
cool.
his filibuster. So I think he'll like that. I mean, I'm doubting we'll see any of these people, but their staffs. And then I'm going to see Senator Warner, who is my senator, and Senator Kelly, Mark Kelly, who is a big advocate for Ukraine. And they get Ukraine paintings and a note on the back thanking them for their support and asking them to uh, preserve Uniting for Ukraine, which is the parole program through which we sponsored our friends, Tatiana and Sergey, and telling a little bit about Tatiana and Sergey. And of course, Senator Warner is also their senator. And I think in another trip to Capitol Hill, I will go to the Russell Building, and you've just about talked me into making something for Senator McConnell, which I'm gonna do a mini one for him because I just can't do like I can't do it, Ben.
Yeah, so like I respect mixed feelings on this, but Senator McConnell, my enthusiasm for whom in general is altogether under control, I assure you, but who has been important in the Ukraine uh, fight and has, I think, a role to play in keeping the Republican Senate caucus where it's going to need to be um, in order to sustain U.S. support for Ukraine. And so I would say, um, as long as the issue is support for Ukraine, McConnell should get a painting. You know, if the issue is, say, the rule of law or, you know, the judiciary, he probably gets coal in his stockings. But I
Also,
do think,
Lindsey Graham. Do you think Lindsey Graham has any actual influence left?
well, I don't think Lindsey Graham has played a constructive role, actually. I think Lindsey Graham,
Well, could he be? I mean, long ago, maybe I should do a portrait of John McCain for him.
yeah, I think Lindsey Graham
Is lost.
worships power only
Okay.
and is going to do whatever. Like McConnell does actually believe in certain things and has played an important role from in getting the supplemental passed. He's more importantly than what he has done is that if aid to Ukraine is going to continue, it's going to be because of, the Mitch McConnells of the world and among other things. And so I think um, uh, there's an important function for Mitch McConnell and Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins and, a
Okay, so
number
maybe
of
we should do the ladies then as
um,
well.
but so if you're thinking strategically, McConnell is important. If you're thinking strategically, Lindsey Graham is, an agent of what he perceives Trump's will to be at any given moment, and
Gotcha, because I
therefore
really didn't
not
want to make him
important.
anything. But maybe I should do a shaming portrait of John McCain, like do John McCain, and then like have a thought bubble coming out and being like, Lindsay, what happened to you, Lindsay?
I think what you should do is um, a big John McCain portrait and with the words "remember who you are, Lindsay," or "remember
Ooh,
who you used to be," and
ooh,
just take a picture of yourself outside his office holding the sign, and then leave the sign there.
nice. I usually don't paint white people,
I know,
but
but
I
you could.
might make an exception in this case.
Yeah, You also never paint women.
No, I do. I do. I've painted Ida B. Wells, Rosa Parks, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Kamala. I did a Kamala. I do paint
Okay.
women. Yeah.
So yeah, I think you should. I think the rare shaming Lindsey Graham, white person, is worth um, departing from tradition for.
Yeah. And then just leave it there. Like, don't go, don't give it to the staff. Just leave it on the floor.
Well, just prop it up underneath
Oh, good point.
um the sign, but it's got to have like remember who you used to be,
Oh,
or
that's good. Okay.
um you
I'll
know,
work on that. I'll do that
don't
after spring break.
don't forget me, Lindsay, or something poignant, and um or how about I do renounce you and all your works.
Oh, yeah, something like that. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, I do find that art is harder for people to ignore versus just a postcard or something. So I've had a lot of success getting people's attention with art, and it's been a useful thing for me. So
Yeah, I have a original Holly Berkeley Fletcher
that's
Thurgood
right.
Marshall painting
Yeah.
in my window,
Yep.
um, in my dining room. All right, folks, audience, if you have subjects you want to bring up, this is a great time. I um, uh, want to say that I am excited about the stock market today. I love the initial descent of roller coasters.
Oh,
Um,
I,
sorry.
I, speaking of that, Jeff has just asked, this is a serious question, Jeff. Jeff has just asked me if I will apply tariffs to my art. And Jeff, I'm probably gonna have to raise the price of my art. Yes, because, well, I don't know where the paints and the wood come from, but I do know that the cloth is African cloth, that I ideally buy in Africa, or my sister buys for me and gets it to me via somebody's suitcase, but I often have to buy it from on Etsy. And I'm assuming the importers of on Etsy will be having to raise their prices because they're paying a tariff, right? And so this is an example of the ripple effects of a tariff regime. Am I right?
Yeah. I, I think if I were a business, I would include a line item on every receipt for tariff price raise. Um, so for some things that are actually imported, the tariff is, direct and can be calculated precisely. If you buy something on Etsy, I think Etsy could include a line that's like, this is how much it costs this person to get this into the country. Um, and it's certainly true of, every bottle of liquor, every, bit of Canadian hardwood, which, I bought a little bit too soon to actually pay the tariff. Um, and, um, and so I think like one strategy businesses could use, and I expect some of them to do it, is to pass the full price on to consumers, but label it,
Get down. Yeah. No, they
right?
should. They should. People need to know.
Now, it's much harder if you're say a car dealer. The car is assembled here, but a bunch of the parts are from elsewhere, and the steel is from elsewhere. And so you're raising a price that reflects some aggregation of component tariff parts. I don't. I mean, there's some formula that uh, you can use to do that. But I think the place where it's really most powerful is just where, every piece of tropical fruit, every banana, every mango, every off-season something is coming from somewhere, and those um, those costs should be itemized. And um, they're astonishingly high percentages of the consumer paid price. You buy coffee, unless you're in Hawaii, it is not coming from the United States, right? Um,
Zero coffee except in Hawaii, but
right. We do not grow coffee, and Hawaii mostly doesn't export that coffee to the rest of
there's
the
that
country.
yucky chicory stuff. Have you that chicory? That's not real coffee though, is it?
No,
Yeah,
um, it's not coffee at all.
it's
So
gross.
I
It
I
is.
think, like, and there's actually an amazing amount of normal agricultural products that we're importing as well, not because we need to import products, but because it's a world market and sometimes the prices are, cheaper to get stuff from Brazil. And
Oh, by the way, did you see that Chinese video that the Chinese put on TikTok? It is pretty amazing. I reposted it on my Blue Sky.
I have not
Control
seen it.
Us. Oh my gosh, Ben, you have to see it. It's like it's first of all, it's the backdrop is Chinese music, and I don't know if the government put this out or if some like enterprising Chinese people put it out, but they put it on TikTok, and it's like it's these Americans in basically China working in Chinese sweat. It's Chinese sweatshops full of Americans, and of course they're all like obese and clearly American looking, and they're sitting there like sewing the things and like doing the little screws on the phone, on the phones, and like basically doing labor that Americans haven't done for a very long time and would never want to do. And it's pretty
I'm
amazing,
about to
actually.
share it. And I would like to point out, um, here it is. Hang on. Um,
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
pretty good.
I mean, okay, brilliant. I don't know who did that, but China, whoever did that, China, even if it's the government of China. See, this is my problem is I'm kind of like Trump has made me like not support the government of China, but it's like I'm kind of sympathetic, to like their retaliatory tariffs, and certainly that video is pretty amazing.
So I have
Um,
no problem in principle with fighting a trade war with China. I don't like, um, it seems to me how you deal with. I don't love that we trade with China as much as we do.
sure, sure, sure.
I think it's not for me a question of Chinese exploitation of the United States. It's really forced labor stuff. It's there's serious
Genocide, for
yeah, there's
instance.
serious moral compromise associated with dealing with China. And if the Trump administration's position were, we want to massively decouple our trade relationship with China so that we depend on them for nothing, and we're willing to have the American consumer pay more um, for goods in order to manufactured goods in order to encourage those goods to be made in India or Cambodia or Vietnam or Mexico or whatever. Like, that's a policy dispute, and I don't have, like, I think it probably is, on balance, not wise, but I'm not sure about that, and I certainly wouldn't, um, be making makeup videos about it. My problem is when you behave that way toward allies and democratic countries, and poor countries that are not, like
Sutu.
Lesotho, right? I mean, there's like when you declare a global trade war against everybody that is actually principally focused on the countries that are closest to us. And by the way, um, I, you know, the notion that China is going to buy more American goods is silly. China can produce all the consumer goods it wants at
Yeah,
lower cost than it can buy them from us. They're not going to buy a whole lot more import a whole lot more
yeah.
American stuff. So it just like the foundations of the argument actually make no sense.
Well, and also ideally, if you were actually going to make a kind of moral stance, a geopolitical, democratic kind of moral sense, you would lead a coalition. You would get a coalition of countries together, and try to marshal everyone together.
Which is more or less what the Biden administration was doing, by the
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, so Laura says there are SCOTUS rulings. If
Right now or from yesterday? Because I actually did. I haven't read. You wrote a column yesterday, right, about the.
not yesterday, I am working on something on the ruling in JGG, but and then I have my column today. But Laura, if that's a question about SCOTUS rulings from yesterday, flesh it out, please. And if that's a reference to rulings this morning,
I think it's from yesterday.
let us know. Um, Laura says discuss when you are ready past rulings. Okay, let me give you a quick rundown on past rulings. First of all, there's the easy one, which is the administrative stay in the Abrego Garcia case. Um, I do not read very much into an administrative stay ever unless it is, particularly when it is the done under enormous time pressure. And so it seems to me the Chief Justice, um, you know, basically took a little bit of time for himself and his colleagues to read the briefs, and I wouldn't read much more into it than that. Number two is the uh, 7-2 decision on standing in uh, the case before Judge Alsup. I have not read that opinion yet, and so I'm not in a position to talk about it, other than to say it can't be too outrageous because it has Justice Kagan on it. And so I'm inclined to, although it does have a pair of dissents, or noted dissents, it's going to be in the ballpark of sane. It's not where you worry is whether when they're 5-4 with Barrett with the libs. That's where you really worry about the crazy stuff. And then finally, in that category is the JGG case, which I have read carefully and which I am writing something about, I hope today. The JGG case is the uh, case involving the uh, violation of the court order to turn the planes around that were going to El Salvador with a whole bunch of um, designated alien enemies on it. And the court ruled basically three things in a per curiam order. One, that you can't just round people up and put them on a plane under the Alien Enemies Act. There has to be notice to them that you're proceeding, be an opportunity for them to challenge the uh, action, and that C, that action has to take place in the form of a habeas corpus case, and it has to take place in the context, in the location where you're being held. And that means that this case, which was brought in the District of Columbia, not in Texas, where these detainees were being held, was not in the proper venue. Um, and um, and that they are therefore the judge had no power to issue the order restraining the flights that he did. So I think of the following about this case. First of all, it didn't surprise me at all. I, in fact, have been worried about exactly this outcome since the ACLU filed in the district. And if you go back to the Lawfare Lives that we did, I kind of said they're in the wrong court, and the Supreme Court is going to ding them on this. So I don't find it surprising. I don't think on its own terms. So that's number one. And I think people who had followed the Guantanamo habeas cases closely were all like a little bit worried about exactly this outcome because, honestly, it if you watched the Padilla case back in 2003, this will not have surprised you completely. Number two, I don't think on its own terms for people who haven't been deported yet, it's going to matter that much. And the reason is that, the proclamation, the Alien Enemies Act proclamation, is so outrageously illegal that if you challenge it in habeas in Texas, you're going to win. And if you challenge it in under the Administrative Procedures Act in Washington, D.C., you're going to win. And if you lose, by the way, in Texas or at the Fifth Circuit, you're going to win at the Supreme Court. And so I think for the person who has not yet been rounded up, um, or the person who is a named plaintiff in this case and being held in administrative detention while they're being processed, I actually think this may be a very Pyrrhic victory for the administration, and those people are going to are going to win. That said, it is a disaster for the people who have already been deported, because it is not clear to me how they get back into court. Their immediate custodian is the Salvadoran government, and the last time I checked, there was no U.S. District Court for the District of El Salvador.
Not
So,
yet.
not yet. So no, but we don't annex shithole countries. We only annex Greenland and the parts of Panama that have
White people.
ships but no people, and Canada,
Places with white people.
places with white people and big open spaces with
Gotcha.
resources.
Yeah.
So I think it's a real problem for that group of people. And then the other thing that it's a problem for is Judge Boasberg's efforts to hold the government accountable for violation of the order in the first place.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have if you don't have if the thing shouldn't have been in your court in the first place, you didn't have power to issue that order. And if you didn't have power to issue that order, you probably can't hold somebody in contempt for them.
But in theory, is the court saying that if they had like a due process, then it would be okay to send people to El Salvador, a prison in El Salvador?
So they did not say that. What they said was that the Alien Enemies Act was was potentially a valid way to deport somebody, which is clearly true. I mean, it's been used for that purpose for Nazis and British people during the War of 1812 and
War, actual war.
yeah. Um, but you have to have the ability to challenge it. And one of the challenges will be, wait a minute, there's no, Trinidad Aragua is not the government of Venezuela. We're not at war with Venezuela. We're not, there's no invasion going on. And, you know, all of that stuff gets to be litigated. So look, is it the opinion I would have written? Certainly not. Is it the opinion I was hoping for from them? No. Does it raise certain important problems, particularly vis-a-vis enforcing legal compliance with, you know, Judge Boasberg's original order and for 260 people who've been sent to a Salvadoran gulag? Yes. Is it the sky is falling? No. Unless you're one of those 260 people.
Okay, another question. Can the ACLU just refile in Texas?
So for the 5 named plaintiffs who are being held, I think they are still in Texas, they can just refile in Texas. Now, the ACLU did file in New York yesterday in an attempt at a class action. There are some detainees being held there. Color me skeptical that that they're going to prevail in that effort. John Hawkinson says that he supposes Lee Gallant is too busy to come on this show. I will point out that one Scott Michelman, who is Lee Gallant's co-counsel, previously represented me in my fight with the DC police over planting sunflowers. And so I share counsel with these detainees. By the way, the ACLU of Washington did a wonderful job cleaning up the mess that the DC police had made and making clear that sunflower planting is kosher. So I thank them. I am not going to bother them about right now about coming on the show. Um, uh, yeah. So we will see. The initial question is whether Judge Boasberg will proceed with his uh, contempt and compliance inquiries at all, and that look, it raises a really interesting question, which is if you violate an order that a court later finds out that the Supreme Court later finds out, or reviewing court later determines the court had no authority to issue, are you can you be held in contempt for that? And yes, John Hawkinson, it has happened before, and we are currently researching the state of the law on that in the DC Circuit.
That's an interesting question. Does Trump have the power to repudiate U.S. national debt?
So he doesn't have the power to repudiate debt, but he does have the ability to frustrate payments of debt. So Congress appropriates that money, and as Trump has shown, you can
Or Congress?
you can ignore things to a certain degree, and does he have the authority? No. Does he have the raw power probably to do it? Probably yes. And one way he could do it, by the way, is just by vetoing a debt ceiling extension. So yeah, there's lots of the president, if he really wants to, if he really committed to it, can really fuck things up. Hey folks, we're out of time. Whoa, Holly is frozen.
Oh,
now she's not. We are out of time, and we're going to call it a day. Holly's hair has settled into an awesome mass of I'm not sure what, but it looks fabulous. My hair is just settled into it's like
Terrible.
terrible. Just grease, and you can see the grease right here. It's the light is shining off of it, and we're gonna be back tomorrow. We're gonna have a guest on Friday. I'm told that Minna Olander is gonna join us from the wilds of Sweden, and it's gonna be we've had a request to have Thomas Ilves back, so we're gonna plow on. And folks, Richard Wattenberger asks about Cleo. Cleo is right there,
Wow.
um, sleeping peacefully, um, and she is getting big and squirmy to be in the lap during the show. But sometimes she does it anyway. Um, Folks, see you tomorrow. It's going to be a good hair day tomorrow.